and welcome to part 2 of my in-depth look at the Shadows Apache. Now, if you've not yet seen part 1, you might like to check that out. I'll put a link on screen. And in that video, I basically focused on the rhythm guitar part, so that acoustic strummed part. And I also did a bit of a harmonic analysis of what's going on in the tune and talked about the structure. And I think it's important that you understand and are aware of all of that stuff before getting into the lead guitar stuff. Now, in this video, I'm going to be focusing on Hank Marvin's amazing playing on this tune. I'm going to take you through all of his parts. And I also want to talk a bit about the Hank Marvin sound, so how he got the sound in this tune and how you might get a similar sound using whatever gear it is that you've got at your disposal. So let's get started. Now, I did a little bit of a harmonic analysis on this tune in the previous video, so I'm not going to repeat myself too much again in this one. Suffice to say that we're in the key of A minor, but there are a few non-diatonic elements in there, so things that step slightly outside the key. Now, I think one thing you might like to do just to get your bearings with this one is just to think about your open A minor chord and then think about your A natural minor scale surrounding that chord shape. So there's our chord shape and then the scale. Quite often like to do that with new tunes just so I'm familiarizing myself with the notes in the key. So I'm just playing up and down the scale there, just from root to root. So I went up to a high A, came down to the lowest available note, which is an E, and then came back up and finished on the root. So the intro riff goes like this. Absolutely iconic riff, this one. And the notes are these. We've got in fact, let me just turn off the delay while I'm demonstrating this to you, just so it's a bit clearer. Then I'll turn it on again later when I do the playthrough. Without delay, the notes are these. So we're starting off on an A, C, D, and we're giving that D note a bit of a bend up and down. So, and then we've got, I suppose, an answering phrase to that. We've got so A, C, sliding up to this high A, G, and an open E. So all together. That's the basic idea. And there are a few places where you can play this riff on the fretboard, and that's the case with some of the other riffs in this tune, but I have tried to verify all of this stuff by watching live footage of Hank, so I'm pretty certain this is how he plays this stuff. Now, that's just the basic notes, but to get the vibe of Hank is a little bit more tricky, I think. And that's where we need to talk about the vibrato arm, the whammy bar, and this is really a key element of the Hank Marvin style. And you notice when you see him play this one live, when he plays a lot of Shadows tunes live, he's actually just got his hand on the bar the whole time. And he's using this bar in a couple of ways, generally speaking. Sometimes it's for very obvious vibrato, like that. And from what I've seen, he often uses the bar rather than the fingers for vibrato. I mean, he does sometimes do finger vibrato, but more often than not, that's achieved by the bar. And it does give you a very different sound from finger vibrato. And the other way that he uses it is for more subtle pitch modulation. So just down to the fact that you're holding onto this bar as you play these riffs, you're going to be giving some of these notes just a little bit of a pitch wobble. So it's worth getting used to that technique if you really want to get the Hank Marvin vibe. So just get used to holding onto that bar as you're picking. So I find that holding it in my pinky, maybe my ring finger as well, and that allows me to get the pick in a comfortable position in relation to the string and still be in control of the bar. But it might take a bit of experimentation to get comfortable with that particular technique. Moving on to the main theme, which goes like this. in terms of the notes, this is actually very simple. We've just got E to A, and then E to A again. Then we've got this F sharp note, E, D, E. So very simple melody. Notice that F sharp is that non-diatonic note. That's picking up the F sharp in the D chord. It's giving you that slight Dorian flavour. And again, if you want to get exactly the right vibe, you're going to want to hold on to the wang bar and give some of those notes a bit of a wobble. And we're just repeating that. And then, as I discussed in the previous video with the chord pattern, we're actually transposing that melody up a fourth. So the notes are in exactly the same relationship to one another, we're just up a fourth. So we've now got A and D. I'm playing an open B there. A, G, A. And again, hold on to the bar as you're doing that. And then we're going back to the original melody. And with the delay, that sounds like this. That's the main theme, the A section. Next we've got the B section, that's the galloping bit, which sounds like this. So we're starting off with two notes here, it's just a C and an F. So the 3rd fret on the 5th string, 3rd fret on the 4th string. So it's C going to F, and the rhythm is 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... And you're going to want to pick that like this: down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. And I think it's really important that you pick it this way if you want to get it up to speed. There might be some other ways you could pick it, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the best way to do it. And if you're unfamiliar with this kind of fast picking, then that's an exercise. You just turn that little bit of the tune into an exercise and repeat that over and over. Just starting slowly, just concentrating on getting that rhythm and getting that accuracy with the pick. And then we're coming out of that with an E and an A. That's probably a bit slower than that actually. I was playing that at kind of a galloping metal speed there for some reason. But that's the idea. And another thing is adding a little bit of palm muting. That's going to really help this section of the tune. Get a bit of palm muting and then combine that with the echo, and you get all of these notes kind of popping out coming from the delay, and it sounds super cool. Next up we've got a bridge section. So the band is going to an F chord here, and Hank is just playing chord tones. So we've got just an F triad here, F, A and C. Going to an open B string, C and D, and then we've got this. So coming down from the high E string, D to C and A. I think sometimes Hank might be pulling off from the D to C. Sometimes he's picking it. You can do what you prefer there. So that's the phrase. There are a couple of things to watch out for rhythmically. We're coming in on beat 2. So it's 2, 3, 4, 1. And here we've got a quarter note triplet. So it's 2, 3, 4, ba, 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 ba. Then the phrase repeats with a little variation. So this time we're going to a G note, which is the fifth of a C chord, and a little fill here. This is really nice, I think. So we've got some thirds on the top 2 strings. So this is just E and G. So these are chord tones from the C chord. So it's the 3rd and the 5th, and then this. This is where you're hinting at that kind of C7 sound here. We've got a G and a B flat. So the G is the 5th of a C chord, and the B flat is the flat 7. So it's giving you that 7th chord sound. It's that secondary dominant sound that I discussed in the first video. And then we repeat the first phrase again. And that's the end of the bridge section. So let me just put all of that together for you with the delay. Important also for this section to have lots of vibrato arm action happening. So some of those notes I'm just giving some straightforward vibrato. Other notes I'm giving the bar a bit of a dip and then releasing it back up again. So on that A note there I might be dipping the bar down. Another dip there on that double stop. Next up we've just got a repeat of the galloping section, so played exactly as before, I think. And repeating that. And then we're on to another A section. And this is interesting. It's more or less the same notes, but Hank seems to be playing it in a different position. And this is something new that I learned about this tune. I've been playing this tune for years, but I always played the A section down in the open position at this end of the fretboard. But if you listen closely to the recording, you can hear that the second time he plays the A section, the tone is different. And sure enough, you look at live videos and he's actually playing it higher up the neck with some more of this galloping kind of rhythm. So the second A section sounds like this. So same notes as before, but we're playing up here at the 7th fret. So E and A. So rather than playing them here, we're playing at the 7th fret on the A and the D strings. We can get our F sharp note there, and get our D there. So and the other thing we need to do is just introduce a bit of that galloping rhythm. So not all of those notes are galloped, but quite a few of them are. So set up that 8th note rhythm. It's a bit like with the strumming part actually. That's playing it all with 8 notes. If you add in some of those galloping upbeat 16th notes, and add in some palm muting, and it sounds really great with the echo. So that's the main idea. Then we're transposing that, so just moving it across to the next pair of strings. So exactly the same fingering, and then we're going back again. So all together with the echo, that sounds like this. just at the very end of that section we've got just an arpeggiated A minor chord and giving that a dip with the bar. We're nearly there now. There's another bridge section with just a slight variation in the middle. So that was the variation just there. So instead of these thirds, we've got all played on the third string. So it's open third string and then this G sharp here just pulling off. Then the bridge continues the same as before. And we've got another galloping section, I think. Then the outro is the same riff as the intro, so and that's just repeated till the song fades. Well, let's talk Hank gear and Hank tone. Now, prior to making this video, I wasn't particularly knowledgeable about the Hank Marvin sound, and I kind of assumed, yeah, you just need a Strat, maybe a Vox AC30, stick on some reverb and you'll have that sound. But it turns out it's not quite as simple as that. Yes, I think a Strat style guitar is going to help, certainly something with single coils. And for this video, I'm using this Strat here. It's a 60s reissue Strat. I think you want to be on the bridge pickup for this particular track. And amp wise today, I am using my Vox AC30, which works really well for the Hank Marvin sound. But I don't think that's essential. I think any clean amp with a nice bright sound is going to work, so something Fenderish would work equally as well as a Vox, I think. But the real secret to the Hank sound is the echo or delay that he gets, and it's not just any kind of delay, it's a kind of multi-tap rhythmic echo that he gets. So just a standard delay pedal isn't really going to get you that sound. With a standard delay pedal, yes, you can adjust the delay time and the number of repeats, but all of those repeats are going to be in the same spacing and in the same relationship to one another, so you can't get that kind of tumbling rhythmic echo sound that Hank gets. So what Hank used on these early Shadows recordings was a multi-head echo unit, and there's quite a lot of information online about his gear, but the best information I could find was from Hank himself. Is an interview, which is actually more of a guitar instructional video, and I'll put a link to it on screen because it's well worth the watch. And in that he talks about his sound and how when the Shadows first started out, he came across this echo machine made by an Italian company called Miazzi, and as soon as he plugged into that, he had the magical kind of Shadows signature sound. And at first I assumed it was a tape echo, but it turns out that this particular model of Miazzi, the Miazzi Echo-Matic, was one of these magnetic drum or disc echoes that works in a slightly different way to a tape echo, has a slightly different sound, and it's similar to the Binson Echo Rec style echo. So of course I tried to get hold of one of these Miazzis to make this video, but they are incredibly rare, and when they do come up for sale they are incredibly expensive. So even for a hugely successful YouTuber and influencer such as myself, that wasn't possible. So I've had to find some other ways to get the Hank tone. So since I sadly don't have a real Miazzi or a Binson Echo Rec, I've had to explore some other possibilities. So I'm just going to run through a few options now. Now, I do actually own an old Roland Space Echo, which is an amazing thing. And I think that Hank did use a Space Echo at one point in his career. But I just plugged it in, and sadly it's not behaving itself. There's a really bad hum, it's really noisy, so not usable for this video, unfortunately. Going to have to get that fixed. But there are some other possibilities, and option one would just be to use a standard delay pedal, whatever delay pedal you've got, and you won't be able to get that rhythmic delay thing, but it will still give you quite a usable sound, I think. So down here I've got a Boss digital delay, and I've just got that set for a medium delay time with 3 or 4 repeats. So not exactly that Hank sound, but surprisingly good, I think, just with a single delay pedal. Now the next option would be to use two delay pedals, one after the other. And this is quite a clever trick. If you don't have a dedicated delay unit which will do that multi-tap thing, you can just set up two separate delay pedals to different delay times. So I happen to have two Boss digital delays. So I've got the first one set up to quite a quick slap back sound with just a single repeat. And then I've got a second digital delay that's set like this. So that's more of a medium delay time with several repeats. And you put the two of them on together and you get this sound. A bit more of that rhythmic thing. So I think that sounds pretty great. Now a further option would be to use a pedal which does have this multi-tap, multi-head function, and there are a few of these around, and what I've done is just dug out my old green DL4 delay modeler from line 6, an old pedal but a real classic I think, and that's got I think an emulation of a Roland Space Echo which has that multi-tap sound. There are some modern pedals around which do possibly a more convincing multi-tap delay sound. I know there's the Strymon Volante which looks amazing, a very expensive pedal, but that's a more authentic recreation of that kind of echo rec sound I think, so I dare say that would work. I've never tried one of those, but the good old DL4 does sound really good. I've got that down here and I've got that set to the multi-head preset, and that sounds like this. So nothing wrong with that. I know it's a really old pedal now, but it still sounds excellent. But in the end, what I decided to do for the making of this video is to use my Kemper Profiler as an effects unit. And I think this is quite an unusual setup, but I'm going into the Kemper, I'm bypassing all of the amp simulation stuff, just using that for the delay effect. Then coming out of the Kemper, I'm just going into my pedal board down here, into my J-Rocket Archer overdrive, just to warm up the sound just a little bit. And then I'm going into my AC30. And the reason I decided to do that is because I came across online someone had come up with these Kemper presets that exactly emulate the Hank Marvin delay sound, and someone had researched all of his delay settings and the exact time intervals between the heads on his delay thing. So supposedly these are very authentic delay sounds, and there's a chart with all of the Shadows songs, and you can load in the preset for Apache, and it sounds very, very convincing. So the delay sounds like this. We've got, so again it's kind of that slap back sound, and then two or three more delays at different intervals. So that sounds like this. So it's a great sound, but really I think any of those options would work. So whether you've got a real Miazzi or you've just got some old delay pedal kicking around, give it a try and dial it in as best you can, and you should be able to get something approximating the Hank sound. So that's it for my epic look at Apache. Hope you've enjoyed these two videos, and I hope you enjoy learning to play this one. It's such an all-time guitar classic that it's well worth learning, and I think it deserves a place in just about any guitarist's repertoire. Now, as usual, tab and backing track is going to be up on my Patreon page, so check that out if you're interested. And it's also a really good one to play with somebody else. If you've got a friend who will back you up by strumming the rhythm part while you play the lead, that can be a lot of fun as well. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.